Next caller here, Daniel. What's up, Daniel? How you doing?
Hey Bart, how's it going? Can you
Good.
hear me?
Yep. Can hear you.
Great,
Perfect.
great.
Yep.
Okay. So this hand is from just this weekend. Brad and Andrew, they had a meetup game at the Hustler Casino in LA.
Okay.
Um, and to preface the hand, we're playing eight-handed. And Andrew's directly on my left. We are 1.3K effective.
Okay. So 1.3K effective. What's the game again? 2-5 or 5-5?
This is 5-5. Yeah.
Right. So the
So we were playing with the standard Hustler
yep.
buy-in cap of 3 to 1K.
Yep. And by the way, I've recently played 2 overnight sessions in this game, and last podcast for the show I did a review of some interesting hands where I ended up 2,200, but if some things had gone my way, I would have won 6,000 in that game. High drop game, right?
Yeah, this
Seven
game
or
is
eight bucks. But so villain is Andrew Neeme. From what I have heard about him, no offense to him, is that he plays pretty nitty slash straightforward. So
Yeah, that's what I was also thinking, but he was definitely mixing it up at the meetup game. So a little bit of table dynamics,
okay, yeah, no
go into
worries.
play.
Yeah,
But yeah, the hand itself is, I think, rather straightforward if I, look back on it. But I'm more interested in your thought process about turn decisions and how you would just kind of approach this hand.
sure, sure.
Okay, so hero opens pocket fives, five of hearts, five of clubs, to 15 under the gun.
Oh, to 15. Wow, five of clubs,
Yeah,
five of hearts.
so we were not playing with a straddle,
Yeah.
and generally people were opening 15 to 20,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes 25, 30 if there were multiple limpers.
Right.
But from any position, I don't think 15 was unheard of. It was a slightly more passive game, so I wasn't really scared of a lot of three bets or getting squeezed out either.
Well, wouldn't that make sense? Well, I mean, it's interesting with a small pocket pair, but just a little caveat. If it's a more passive game, it would lend me to actually wanting to raise larger because sometimes when you're in a more aggressive game, you keep the first size small so that the three betting doesn't get out of control in terms of sizing, and that you can call raise. You can call against shallower stacks. I mean, that's just something off the bat. But okay, so you open 5-5 under the gun to 15. Okay.
To 15,
Yep.
and Andrew directly to my left, three bets to 45 in the plus one position.
Okay, so just 3x to
Yeah, which is
45.
a
Yeah.
pretty small three bet.
Uh-huh.
And then folds around to the big blind who has a monster stack. He covers the table, but he's playing super loose. So he's one of the spots that we're trying to target, and he flat calls in the big blind.
Flat calls, okay. And hero
And
calls.
obviously we call in the we call into the gun.
All right, so it's
Uh,
probably like 140-ish, maybe a couple dollars less because of the rake or something.
yeah, without
Yeah.
the rake, I put 135 in my notes.
Okay. Well, you got
And
the
the
block.
flop,
Oh, yeah, because the small. Right, because the small.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. So,
the flop comes king of hearts,
mhm.
five of spades, deuce of hearts. So we flop middle set.
So wow, that's a pretty good spot for you, right? In a three bet pot,
Yeah, I
obviously,
was like, yeah, I
especially
was
when you don't
like,
gotta have kings, right?
Andrew was obviously filming because he, three bet
Yeah.
the pot. So I was like, this is looking pretty favorable.
Yeah,
We
for
can try to
sure.
get into a pot with him. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
looking really good.
Uh-huh.
So big blind checks, hero checks to Andrew,
Uh-huh.
who continues for 60,
Okay.
and the big stack and the big blind, he flat calls the 60.
Okay.
So he could have a lot of hands here. He might be even floating with any kind of pocket pair or 5x or anything really. And hero decides to check raise to 260.
Okay. So to 260. Okay.
What do you think about the sizing here?
Yeah, I think it's good. I would probably be doing a fair amount of check raising, especially if the big blind is going to be weighted towards a lot. I mean, it's like the big blind really shouldn't be. I mean, I guess he can have some pairs, right? That might just, but you're not going to get action really by slow playing against the big blind. Anyways, I don't think he's going to fold king X. I wouldn't go crazy. You don't have to build up that much. You could even probably even go smaller. Well, these stack sizes. I mean, you just kind of want to shape it so that if you get one call, you can get a lot of money in, right? You can get the rest of the money in over two streets with the king.
Right, right. That was the plan.
Yeah, yeah. So, so you could even maybe get away with going even like a little smaller to like 220 to 230, something like that. But okay, so you go to 260.
Would you still check raise if the big blind had not flat called?
That's interesting. That's interesting, and I think that might be actually player dependent a little bit in terms of if I have history, if I think he's a really, really strong player and I want to, and I actually do want to balance at a higher stakes game across like having very strong hands to check call down with in 3-bet pots, if you're playing in a reg heavy pool, you might get into this spot a lot. And, you can't just have somebody liberally like take you for 3 streets with like aces. So, in this scenario, probably,
Okay.
but I'm just saying it's something to think about. Okay. So the
Okay,
260.
makes
Yeah.
sense.
Uh-huh.
And Andrew, he goes in the tank for a while, but he decides to put in the flat call,
Okay.
and then folds around to the big blind, who kind of hems and haws, and I'm sure he doesn't have much, but he ends up folding.
All right. So put in actually put in 580 right here on the flop. So the pot's like 705.
Yeah, I have 715 down.
Wow. 715. Right. My bad.
Hmm.
My bad mouth.
And
Okay.
then, okay,
Yep.
the turn comes the 6 of hearts.
So brings in the
Was
front door heart draw.
Yeah, was not super happy to see it.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, if Andrew flats my raise on the flop, I'm putting him on any kind of heart combinations, as well as King X, maybe King Queen, Ace King, aces. I don't think he floats with too much worse than that.
I think there's a lot more knowing the way that he plays. If we just sort of kind of give him a tight sort of, if he's just a tighter player. Now maybe he was mixing it up, but just bear with me here. From +1 versus your UTG Open, maybe he is like 3-betting a lot of Ace X suiteds because if it was if he was playing like what the ranges should be, and again it's a live game, he doesn't like the amount of aces and Ace King dwarf the Ace X of hearts combos here, right? Because Ace Queen of hearts, Ace Jack of hearts, maybe Ace 10 of hearts, and Ace 5 of hearts. You know what I'm saying? Like from +1
Right.
under like so. And then you look at the number of combos of 8. You get all 6 combos of aces, right? There's 1 king out there, so there's 18 combos of aces or Ace King. So I don't know if I'm scared of a flush that much. Now, I'm not
Okay.
saying that I wouldn't necessarily check, but I might err towards this because of the tight configuration of this preflop. And it might be much different where this is almost always a check if it was like cut off versus button or something. You know what I mean? Where you might
Yeah.
see a
Yeah.
reflection of more suited hands 3-bet.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So I think the major decision point here is the turn, and I was torn between either check, bet small, obviously, or bet big. And because the hearts came in the moment, obviously my check raising range on the flop has a lot of hearts as well. I don't think it's too balanced, but obviously I have all the hearts as well as the sets and possibly some king X's. So it kind of made sense to continue in my head. But then I thought, if I bet, am I getting called by a lot of worse hands if Andrew puts me on the hearts or a set?
Well,
Like I feel like he might be.
you have 1,000 left, right, in your stack
Mm,
about, right? Is that right? About 1,000
yeah,
left. Yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, even if you go like 250 here, then the pot's going to be 12, and then you're going to have like 750 left. So you really don't have to bet that large, and you can
mm,
go probably sort of that 30. What would that be like? 30% would be 210. 40% 280. I mean, you could probably go to 35% with everything here. You know what I'm saying?
So you would
And then
almost. Mhm,
and then he's sort of in kind of a sticky spot here with like black aces or a black ace king when you size like this too
right.
on the turn.
Yeah, so you would continue this turn kind of across all my check raising range on the flop then.
I think so because of the tight configuration. Like I said, if you think if you think he has more of a button 3-betting range here from +1 because it's it's a meetup game and he's splashing around, then that could change things. But this is how
Right.
I would think about it, right?
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So what did you do?
As played, I check because
Okay.
I thought I would only get called by worse if I bet. Um,
250.
and
I mean,
and
first of all, you're definitely getting called by any high heart, the ace king, aces with the ace of hearts.
yeah,
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 So
or
you,
aces with the ace of hearts.
yeah. So you check, okay.
I decide to check, and Andrew, he thinks about it for a while, and he sizes up, in my opinion, and he bets 375, which was a pretty big bet for this game.
Well, this could be a stack threshold. So now 375. If you call here 750, the pot's going to be 1465, and you're going to have like what
600 left.
600 left. Boy, this is and so if you jam, he's getting 3.5 to 1. This is a very, very I mean, if you played it as a check, it's a check call. The only question here is its threshold here, right? Like I could see check jamming here just because if you call and it's a brick and he's making like kind of a protectionist type of bet, with aces. It doesn't seem like he's got many bluffs here. I don't know if it's gonna, the river's probably gonna go check check. You might be giving him a sort of a reverse free card here, where he might call off with ace king with a heart in it, or with the ace of hearts or the ace of hearts, and then instead you call and it goes check check. So it's very, very close to it. Whenever I think my opponent's going to be getting probably more than 3-1 with what I have left, and in this case, like I said, the pot's like 1465 and you've got like 600. So if you jam, he is getting 3-1. This might be just a jammer. I mean, you're not going to fold. You're just going to check jam. It's very close.
Yeah, I thought about check jamming the turn, but as played, if we do put him on a flush, are we getting the right odds to even call the turn? Because I was thinking we need about 35% to continue on the turn if we put him on flushes.
Well, if he has a flush, right, you have 10 outs, right? 10 out of 45 will do it easy, unseen cards, because we're giving him a flush, right? Which means you need to make 3.5-1 off of the bet size from the total pot. Now, if I just do this really, really quickly, I know that 3.5 times 400, right, is 1,400. So it would be a little bit less than that, maybe like 1,300. When he bets 375 into 715, if you call, you're already at 1,100 and you have 600 left, right? So he said like 13. So I tend to disagree with you if he's always paying off if the board pairs, right? But it has to do with implied odds. So what did you do?
I decided to flat call. It felt a little nitty to fold, considering that I did think that he could have some ace of hearts.
Very nitty.
Yeah, ace of hearts king, or aces with the ace of hearts. Although I would think that he would try to go to showdown or check back with some of those showdown value hands if he puts me on sets or hearts.
It's possible. So you have about 600 left in your stack,
yeah,
right?
But in the moment I did call, I didn't think that I could fold this turn to one decent sized bet. So I do call. The river is 1465, and it does come a break. It comes at 3 clubs.
So it puts a 1-liner to a 4 out there, though.
It does. But in the moment, I don't think I was too worried about losing to a straight. I was just thinking flush or nothing.
It's not that I'm necessarily worried about losing to a straight, although I can come up with some hands that viably would get complete here if you was structuring correctly, which would probably just one combo, which is basically ace-4 of spades. And then also ace-4 of spades as a defend, which is the wheel draw that's 3-bet off from +1. That's the defend because of the backdoor, whereas the other ace-4s probably should bet fold flop if they're going to bet. So that's just one specific thing. But more importantly, the reason why that's relevant here is because I don't think he's going to go with aces here at the end, right now, if you check to him. Like, I don't think he's shoving aces. Aces with the ace of heart. I mean, he'd really, really have to. I think that would be way, way too thin, especially right now, obviously. Whereas, like, if the river was, like, say, like a 5 or a deuce, and especially if you check the river, I might go with aces here, especially with the ace of hearts for value. Cutting out your full house out. So that's how it interacts, I feel like. So I'm assuming you checked here?
Yes, I check, and as kind of expected, he does jam for 620.
Is it expected? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, if he does check back, I'm thinking I'm almost always good.
Well, yeah, and again, that is from, great video that we put up today. And I'm not saying that this is the case here because you're going to be getting some incredible pot odds. But the point of what I was trying to come across today is that you can arrive from out of position with the betting lead, which you sort of did on the flop. You can arrive out of position in a spot where the right play is to check fold with a strong hand, knowing that your hand might be good 80% of the time, but the times that your hand's good, it goes check, check, and you win. But when your opponent bets, you don't have the... and like I said, the video from today on 913 was a much better example of this. Here, so the pot's what, 2,065, 600 for you to call?
Right.
I mean, I don't like folding sets much, but God, this run out just makes me think. I mean, obviously, I even though it's only like 6 into 14, like I still think that this is probably a flush or nothing, or he's got pocket kings. That's another hand that I would go with too here, because once you check the turn and you're playing this on the river, I'm trying to get max value from deuces and 5s that you have here, right? When you check turn with the flush. So it's like kings or a flush is pretty much what he's representing here. And I'm trying to find because remember, when he c-bet the flop, right, the big blind called in between, then you check raised. He should not be calling with like ace queen with the ace of hearts here. I'm trying to come up with like a bluff, which would be like an offsuit ace. It's also a very tight configuration. If he's, I'm sort of examining this in, if I was trying to play well in this spot, I can't call your check raise with the guy behind you light. Whereas maybe I can heads up, right? Ace queen with
Right,
the ace of
because he
hearts.
called next to act.
Yeah, it called next to act. He still hasn't acted right after
Right.
you check raise. So it's a very, very dicey scenario. I mean, I could see a fold. I got to be honest with you. I could really see a fold.
Yeah, it was kind of like one of your podcasts, Fifth Chicken kind of thing, where I do call the turn, but if he does decide to bet the river again, then I'm probably not good.
Well, yeah, and
Uh,
also you're calling the turn with equity too, right?
right,
You're
right.
calling the
Mhm.
turn with equity. So what ended up happening?
So we kind of level ourselves into a call. I was thinking I was, once I do call a turn and he does bet the river again, I don't think I'm good too much, and I would be snap folding this to a reg in the 5-5 LA game. But just because it is a meetup game, and I do think that he has a sliver of bluffs
But
potentially
by the way,
sometimes.
some people are saying in the live chat aces with the ace of hearts or ace king with the ace of hearts. I mean, I don't. First of all, I wouldn't take that hand for value here. I don't think, and I don't think he's bluffing with it. So I would be surprised if he turns that over. Okay, so what happened? So hero calls. Yep.
Yeah, I call, and he turns over the 9-7 of hearts, which was a kind of a light three bet.
Well, I mean, the funny thing here is, so he's got the flush. The funny thing here is that this is a button through betting range, right? Remember what
Yeah,
we
yeah.
talked about? So he does have
Uh-huh.
a lot of hearts.
Mhm.
So if he's gonna, we don't know how he's playing in each hand, but obviously he is splashing around, which might lend itself more to how you played the turn as a check.
Which, yeah, so I think major mistake was that I should have definitely bet the turn and most likely bet fold the turn, right?
No, no, I not no 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 no. If he has more flushes in his range because he's playing
Mhm.
a button three bet, you're supposed to be doing more checking on the turn. I was an advocate for betting turn because I didn't think he had many suited hands.
Oh, I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Right?
see. So in a tighter configuration, you would bet the turn as
Yes.
opposed to if he does have more flushes, then you would
Yes.
lean
Right.
towards more
Right.
checking.
Where I'd be doing more checking cutoff versus button. It looks like he is sort of splashing here and three betting like
Okay.
more of a button range, right? But
Yeah, that makes sense.
very nice call. I appreciate it. We'll definitely use. We'll definitely use the Neeme. We love to use like Brad
Right.
Neeme hands. So again, guys,
Awesome.
if you want to get on the show, you can do so. Take a look in the description because there is a different submission process. You can click on the link. The new email is submissions@crushlivepoker.com, and there's a template